Hannah Gutierrez was sentenced back in April to the maximum potential sentence of 18 months for the involuntary manslaughter regarding her behavior or, well, failure to do her job on the set of Rust. There was a mutual defense agreement between Hannah's lawyers and Baldwin's lawyers. Because there was attorney-client privilege, one lawyer can't just tell another lawyer things without consent from their client. So that existed to allow them to share information. I think that ended up being very, very helpful to Baldwin's team because everything that happened with Troy Teskey, Baldwin's team was aware of. I would suspect they were aware because of Jason Bowles. There is nothing wrong with that. Bowles has consent from his client to tell them what they know. There is nothing wrong with Bowles telling them whatever he knows. If the prosecution had turned over what they were supposed to turn over, it wouldn't have been an issue. What Bowles said to them wouldn't have any impact whatsoever. So they were allowed to share information with one another. After the dismissal of Baldwin's case last Friday, we saw Bowles making the rounds on media saying, I'm going to immediately be asking for a new trial, a dismissal, and Hannah to be released. The standard for Brady violations after trial and during trial are different. So Bowles is not similarly situated in a lot of ways to Baldwin. The Hannah Gutierrez legal fight is a little bit harder because Hannah's got to prove that the jury essentially would have decided something different. And I don't know if we're going to get there because of the evidence about her doing her job. Hannah's job is to check every single thing that goes into the gun. Does it matter how the live rounds got onto set for her? Because she is the safety check. So live rounds are on set. She has to check them to make sure they don't go into the gun. So does it matter where they came from? For me, it doesn't matter where they came from because it's her job to check it and to find that round. And then to shut down the set and find if there's any other ones. Her job is safety. So does it change the jury's decision about whether she did her job with due caution and circumscription if the weapons came on somewhere else? If someone else loaded the weapon, completely different scenario. But if she has a box that has stuff mixed into it, it's her job to know everything that's in that box and to check it and then double check it. And if she doesn't have time to check it, to stop production and make sure she has time to check it. That's her job. Did she do her job with due caution or circumscription? That's the question for the jury. There's no evidence that somebody else did something with the weapons. If that is the case, if that is the evidence, we've got a different scenario. Going through the Bowles motion for new trial or to dismiss, we learned a lot of new information. Not only are there 2 reports from one of the state's weapons experts, Mr. Haig, that weren't turned over, there is also an entire interview from Seth Kenney, the owner of PDQ Arm and Prop, that wasn't turned over. There's also 900 pages of information relating to state's witnesses that weren't turned over to the defense. Does that information leave room for the defense to further impeach witnesses? Yes. Does that information violate Brady? It seems to. Does that mean that the court must grant a new trial or dismissal? We will see. Some of the elements the court is going to have to balance is, would the jury or could the jury have come to a different outcome on this? Some of this information I actually think is bad for Hannah, especially when it comes to the weapon report. If there were modifications to the weapon as the armor, it's her job to find that. So would it further go to her not doing her job? Would it further go to her, acting without due caution or circumscription? It could. But as to the Seth Kenney stuff, can it further go to the defense position that what was going on at PDQ Arm and Prop and with Sarah Zachary does intervene in the job that Hannah Gutierrez was doing and making it impossible for her to do her job? What's hard for Hannah Gutierrez in all of this is that Hannah said to police repeatedly, and even in an interview with her attorney, that she should have checked the ammo more, that it was her job to make sure the gun was in working order, that it was her job to make sure that there weren't live rounds in the gun. And if that is the ultimate decision then we'll see how the court weighs this. Could the court, in the interest of justice, say that this behavior means that fundamentally Hannah Gutierrez did not get a fair trial? He didn't really raise those arguments on whether or not she had a fair trial in exactly that language, but is there room for the court to make some other decisions here? Absolutely there are. We will see how the court weighs this. Prosecutor Carrie Morrissey is still on this case. Prosecutor Carrie Morrissey also is kind of a witness to these motions because the things she said on the stand are brought up in these motions. The defense also asked that she be removed from the case. But for now, in the motions for the defense asking for extended page length, Carrie Morrissey is the one they were talking with, and she had no objection to that, which is why it was a longer motion. But Carrie Morrissey is still very much a part of this case. And that's going to be really weird. 900 more pages of discovery. And it seems that even when discovered, some of this was turned over to Baldwin's team in April, right after the sentencing of Hannah. And it seems that that wasn't turned over then either. Like, when did this get turned over? I've got so many questions. This is not good at all. And we will see what the court decides to do with it. What an absolute ongoing cluster of completely unacceptable. A week ago, I would have been like, I am stunned. Am I stunned at the moment? Not after everything we've seen. Disappointed, horrified, but unfortunately at this point, not stunned. This is not okay. What the remedy for that will be is for the court to decide, and we will see. But we already know how mad the court is about this. We saw it on Friday last week. For deep dives into the stories that I covered here, you can find them on my YouTube channel at The Emily D. Baker and The Emily Show podcast. I stream every Tuesday and Thursday. The podcast goes live on Wednesdays. And if you want to stay in the loop with everything I'm doing, receive the fastest notifications out there, and get more Law Nerd community, join me at lawnerdapp.com, our free app for iOS and Android.